Thanks for joining us today on the Big Blue Podcast. I'm Leigh Goodson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Greg Stone, the Provost of Southeast Campus. How are you today, Greg?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're here at the McKeon Center for Creativity in downtown Tulsa, and we are happy to welcome Jessica Heavin, the Director of Wellness Services, here with us today. How are you today, Jessica?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Well, we're really glad that you're here, and I'm excited to have the chance to talk to you and have you help us understand what else is going on in your area. There's been a lot of growth in the wellness department since you joined the college a few years ago. Can you tell us just a little bit about, tell us about the department, who's in it, and how they support our students and some of the different functions that happen out of your department?
Yes, of course. So our department, everybody in our department is a college-wide staff member. And so depending on where they're housed, we travel around to whatever campus that the students, wherever the need is, basically. So the first person I'll mention is Randy Harold. She's our health promotion coordinator, and she is now based at Southeast Campus in the new Student Success Center. She provides a variety of health education programs for our students. So just a few of those would be wellness fairs. We have a new event that we're doing every semester called Fresh Check Day. We have Canines and Coffee, which is a finals week program, and that's just to name a few. So last year we had over 2,600 student contacts within our health education programming, and so that is something that we're obviously very proud of. Randy does a great job.
I'll say she's going to join us in a couple of weeks as well to talk a little bit more about some of those.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So the next person I'll mention is Shatia Stevens. Shatia started in January, and she comes to TCC through our SAMHSA grant. So she's a 100% grant-funded employee, and she's currently housed at Northeast Campus, but she provides services on all of our campuses. So she provides students with referrals for their everyday needs. So if they have a transportation need, food, housing, referrals for mental health services, she's basically a touchstone person at the college for those students who have any kind of barrier to their academic success. When we wrote the SAMHSA grant, we wrote it for basically connecting students not only to everyday needs, but also to behavioral health needs out in the community. And really, everybody is so unique. Our students are so unique that those needs look different for everyone. It takes a little bit of time to find the right resource. So that's basically Shatia's mission on the campuses. Shelby Cartwright is our part-time administrative assistant for the grant, and she is based at West Campus. So again, we wrote the grant. We realized it was going to be a lot of work. And so we built in a part-time support person for that role. The nice thing for us with Shelby being at West is it's one of our smaller campuses, of course, and so she's there to greet students if they walk in, at least on a part-time basis, and tell them what we do and kind of guide them in the right direction if they want to talk with one of us. And last but not least, we have a position that's called the LPC for Wellness Services, and that position is currently open. We're interviewing. Andrea Schroyer was in that role previously and gave us 2 great years of service, and she is now the Director of Student Conduct and Community Standards here at TCC. So very grateful for her service. Sorry to lose her, but a good move for her.
Yeah. And for a good cause.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jessica, last year you began providing mental health first aid training to college employees, and just in the interest of disclosure, I just went through that myself with my team, and we were just talking before we got started about not only what helpful training that was in terms of content, but how that 8-hour day did not at all feel like an 8-hour day. But for people who are listening who maybe aren't aware of that training opportunity, just give us an overview of that program and how faculty and staff can benefit from having that certification in mental health first aid.
Yes, of course. So mental health first aid is a program that came to the United States in 2008, came to Oklahoma in 2009, and I was lucky enough to be one of the inaugural certified instructors for the state. And so once you're an instructor, you can train wherever you are. You can train out in the community, you can train at your employer, wherever you would like to train people, you can do that. So basically it's a public education course. Anyone can take it to learn more about how to help somebody who's experiencing a mental health crisis or is showing symptoms of a mental health disorder or illness. And basically the idea is based around regular first aid and CPR, that if you see something going on with someone, it's okay to ask and it's okay to get them to the next step. So it's very prescriptive. It gives you steps and guidelines and things to take into account when you are working with somebody who may be struggling or in distress. So for our faculty and staff, they have, I would say particularly for faculty, they have way more student contact than I do even. Because they're in the classroom with these students. And so it's very important for them to feel empowered and know how to help somebody that might be in need.
If anyone's got the chance to go through that certification, it is well worth your time. Just to be able to not only help students or their employees, but if you're out in the community and you see someone in distress, and we know that so many of those situations are on the rise in our community, and so I'll just put that plug in for anyone who might have the chance that you really should do it. It's been it feels very empowering to have that knowledge and training under your belt, so to speak. So,
well, and to that point, one of the areas that you definitely cover in mental health first aid is suicide prevention. And suicide is something that, as a society, we're talking about more openly than we used to. Parents and loved ones are learning about the signs through different trainings, but really also through some media outlets. And there's just much more awareness in the public about suicide than there used to be. And I would venture to say that most people either, the degree of separation from someone that has either committed suicide or has thought about it or has attempted it has gotten smaller over the past few years because we know so much more about it and it's become more prevalent. Talk to us about what are the signs that employees should look for and what questions should they ask, and who do they call if they suspect a coworker or a student is considering suicide?
Well, we really just, and again, this goes back to the education piece. In mental health first aid, we talk about this. There's also suicide prevention trainings that we offer. There's one called QPR, which stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. We're going to be offering that at Professional Development Day this year. We've offered it at Focus on Fridays before. Basically, we want people to know what the overt signs are, so the things that people might actually say to you that might indicate that they are thinking about suicide, but also the more covert ones. So students who are talking about feeling worthless or helpless or hopeless, or they don't feel like they have a direction to go in. Again, what the research tells us, whether we're talking about a college or we're out in our communities, more people than not do not go to a professional. They find somebody that they trust. So that could be a family member, a friend. Here at TCC, that could be their trusted professor that they've really got a good rapport with. So it's just very important to be astute, to know those signs and symptoms, to be aware of that. And I always want to be real careful and talk about the fact that we're not expecting everybody to be a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. But it's the same thing as if you were walking down the street and you saw someone having a heart attack. You wouldn't step over them and say, "Oh, sorry, I can't do anything for you." You'd pick up your phone, you'd try to find them some help. So it's the same with suicide prevention. We don't all have to be counselors or therapists, but we can all have enough information to know that somebody is struggling.
And one of the really big tools, of course, is the suicide prevention hotline. That is the same number nationwide, right?
It is. And here in Tulsa, we also have something called COPES.
Right.
Which is a mobile crisis unit that anybody can call anytime. If we're talking about faculty and staff here at the college, if they have a student that they feel is actively suicidal, we do ask them to reach out to campus police, because campus police are always there, and so they can respond accordingly. For my staff, again, we traveled to all 4 campuses, so it's hard for us to respond immediately. But the police officers can do a quick assessment, call COPES if they need to. And as a college, I feel like we're still kind of figuring out what our protocol is going to be, but the training is the foundational piece. Yeah.
Well, I'm Greg Stone here with President Goodson, and you're listening to the Big Blue Podcast. We're talking with Jessica Heavin, who's Director of Wellness Services today, about how we can ensure that the college is a healthy learning environment for our college community. Jessica, you've also been leading the JED campus program, which includes faculty and staff from across the college that, again, deals with safety and well-being of students. Can you just tell us about that project really briefly? It's another national program that's kind of complicated, but let us know what JED is and what employees can expect to hear from that team over the course of this next year.
Yes, so JED is one of the signature programs of the JED Foundation. And a lot of people think that JED is an acronym for something, but it's actually the name of a young man who died by suicide when he was in college. His parents felt very passionately about suicide prevention in schools, and so they've sort of set up a protocol. Protocol is probably not the right word. Basically works with schools to do strategic planning around decreasing suicide, increasing emotional wellness, and decreasing substance use. So here at TCC, we have an interdisciplinary team of different colleagues around the college. We did some data collection with our students last year through institutional research. So we did the Healthy Mind survey to get a sense of what our students struggle with and what they need. And we now have a strategic plan where we're going to figure out what policies, procedures, services, programming that we can do to kind of prop up our student body to make sure that they are as healthy as they can be in the time that they're here and hopefully going forwards even after they graduate.
As we move forward as a college being more educated about mental health issues, talk to us about what are the top 2 or 3 mental health needs that you would hope, because we can't know everything about all of them, right? We don't have the capacity as a college. What would we, maybe 2 or 3 needs that most college employees most need to understand? So
there's a lot of different places now that look at that sort of data. So it's not really as big of a question mark as it used to be. So when I look at the national trends, anxiety and depression are the top 2. And then there's another one that's a little bit harder to define, I think, and that's our students talk about being lonely, which in the digital age I find sort of fascinating because students, if you ask them, they will often tell you that they're very connected, but yet that sense of loneliness is really starting to crop up a lot.
Makes you question how meaningful the connection really is.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's not real.
It's not. Yeah. Social media is produced. Right. It's not. You can frame it. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's very authentic and genuine and natural. But
chances are your 3,000 Instagram followers are not going to be there when you need them in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly right.
So there's a lot of ongoing research about that. The way I think of it, in my own opinion, I think we're all, no matter how many Instagram followers we have, we're all craving that face-to-face contact with people who care about us. And so some of that is just educating students on how to make those connections. And again, that's a big part of the JED program, is increasing those programs. So as far as accessing help for wellness services, all of our information is on the website at tulsacc.edu/wellness. Our students can take a look at the website for contact information and specifics, but basically they have up to 5 sessions per academic year with a licensed professional counselor here on campus if they would like to access those. If we can't help them within the scope of that 5 sessions, then we, again, that's what Shatia does, is help connect students out in the community. If they don't have time to make an appointment or they're just not comfortable with that, they can also utilize our student assistance program, which is a 1-800 number that's available 24/7. And the student assistance program now has 3 sessions, in-person, telephonic, or video counseling that are available for students. We also have crisis text line now where students can text a crisis counselor, which we're very excited about. And that's just texting the word relief to 741-741. So they could literally be in class and do that if they need to. So we are really proud of the fact that we've diversified our services, because I feel like that's important. Because again, everybody's needs are a little bit different.
So we're going to end today, and I guess I should say all of that information is available on the Wellness Services website or webpage.
Yes.
At tulsacc.edu.
Yes.
Under Student Services. So great information there that hopefully students and our faculty and staff can help pass along to their students. So we always end with the big question, which is, if you could go back and give your 18-year-old college-going self some advice, what would that be?
So in my typical overthinking fashion, I went back to see what I said 2 years ago.
To see if it's changed.
Right. So 2 years ago, I said persistence pays off, which I still totally believe.
Yeah.
I am doing some leadership classes here at TCC, and we talk a lot about imposter syndrome and thinking that you don't fit in, don't belong, don't deserve to be there. And so I would definitely tell my 18-year-old self to be aware of imposter syndrome and know that it's a real thing and that it's all in your head. Because I think that's something I hear our students say that a lot. So I'm kind of excited that our new mission addresses that. You belong here.
You do belong here. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Jessica, it's been great to have you back with us again for an update on all the important work that you're leading. And you've been listening to the Big Blue Podcast. We want to thank Jessica Heavin again for spending some time with us today. And thank you for listening. Dr. Goodson, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you, Dr. Stone.
And remember, you can catch the Big Blue Podcast each week in the week at TCC and on the Creativity channel at YouTube. And we will see you next time.